Hey friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be chatting about my thoughts on my 10 most disappointing reads of 2025. So I have a lot of things to say because I also included 3 honorable mentions. So let's just kind of hop into the video and yeah. But if like this kind of video, like these kinds of videos for me, I do them once a year. If you want to see more of them from me, like do like a quarter review or like a 6-month review, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see more from me, hit like, subscribe, and let's hop into the video. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the 10th one, then go up from there, and before we hit top 2 or top 1, I'll go ahead and talk about my honorable mentions. Yeah. I also have my snack because I have my snack and my side duck because I need them. Oh, I forgot to add this as a caveat. If you liked any of these books that I'm mentioning on my disappointed list because I do not like them, that is great for you. We can have a healthy discussion in the comments about why you like these books. If you're going to turn ugly on me and make it very mean-spirited, then I don't care about your opinion. Sorry, not sorry. But if you want to have a discussion and a healthy one, and we can talk about why I don't like the book and why you love the book, and we can have side duck with us without getting a little too upset. You know, we have to have the side duck litmus test of whether or not side duck's gonna explode and throw everything around the wall because its head hurts, because we made its head hurt. Then we can have a discussion. But if not, and you're gonna be mean about it, then I don't care about your opinion. On the bottom end of this is The Deep by River Solomon. This is an adult novella following all of the ancestors of the African slaves that were thrown overboard. This follows one particular one who is like Mer people. Yetu is in charge of remembering all the horrible things that have happened to them and relaying it to everyone once a year. However, the act of remembering everything is very painful for her and she ends up running away. I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't terrible by any means. I think the writing was absolutely gorgeous. It was beautiful and it was like well done. I just was expecting something different from this book, which is why it's in the bottom 10 of disappointing books, because it is for sure user error. I was expecting something completely different, and it ended up being something completely undifferent of not what I was expecting at all coming from this this book or this novella. So bottom 10, it's disappointing because of user error and not because of anything that the book actually did, just because I felt like it was missing something that I wanted, and I don't know exactly what I was expecting from the book, but it was not that. But beautifully written, it's queer. Yeah. Moving on to book number 9, and that is In That Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I'm going to preface this as I have prefaced every review that I have mentioned regarding this book. The contents of this book are very important. I think the contents of this book are super important, and they have some important things to talk about, such as a toxic and abusive queer relationships, which is a topic that's been very heavily talked about. I just think that the way that this book was written makes it largely inaccessible for those who really need it, which is why it's disappointing to me. I was expecting prose that really just hammered in why this is an important topic and what happened to Carmen Maria Machado and how all of this is something to talk about. It's something that we don't talk about as a community. But instead, it was just very much showing off the fact that Carmen Maria Machado can write, and really just wrote it in a way that made it very inaccessible. Like, I thought it was inaccessible, and that was coming from someone who listened to the audiobook and really listened to the words that were being said. And it was just, I feel like the people who really need to read this kind of book, who really need to see the importance of queer, toxic, and abusive relationships, are the ones who will be unable to read it because of how inaccessible this was written. Hence why it is so disappointing. Oh, this book is a memoir of Carmen Maria Machado's most toxic and abusive queer relationship. I think she mentioned this is her first relationship as a queer woman as she had come out. And yeah, But again, highly inaccessible, and the audience that will end up needing it the most will be the ones that will not be able to understand it or get to it. The next one is actually a DNF. I read this book through like I think 50% of the way through, and then DNF'd it because I was like, what is happening? And that is These Fatal Flowers by Shannon Ives. I'm going to read y'all the description because I didn't know what I was getting into when I had received this arc. Didn't know what I was getting into when I read the book. And I still felt like I didn't know what I was getting myself into about halfway through the book. This is an adult, I wouldn't even call it retelling. No, it's a retelling of, I think, the Fates? No. Sirens. It has been centuries since Thelia made the mistake that cost her the woman she loved. As handmaidens charged with protecting Proserpina, who is the goddess of spring, Thelia and her sisters are banished to the island of Scopoli, cursed to live as sirens, half-winged women, half-bird creatures. In luring men to their death, they hope to gain favor from the gods who can free them. But then the ship stops coming, and Thelia fears a fate worse than the underworld. And just as time begins to run out, a voice emerges, Proserpina's voice. And what she asks of Thelia will spark a daring and dangerous quest for freedom. Now, Roanoke. You see where the confusion comes in. We go to freaking Roanoke after being in ancient Greece. So, just throwing that out there. Thelia can't bear to reflect on her last moments in Scopoli, where she left behind her sisters. After weeks of drifting at sea, Thelia's renewed human body is close to death. Luckily, an unfamiliar island appears in the horizon, Roanoke. Posing as a princess arriving on a sailboat filled with riches, Thelia infiltrates the small colony. It doesn't take long for her to realize that this place is dangerous, especially for women. As she grows closer to a beautiful settler who mysteriously resembles her former love, Thelia formulates a plan to save her sisters and enact revenge on the violent men she's come to hate. But is she willing to go back to Scopoli and face the decisions of her past, and will Proserpina forgive her for all that she's done? Told in alternating timelines, This Fatal Flowers is a powerful, passionate, and wildly cathartic love letter to femininity and the monstrous power within us all. So I'm here for wild, unhinged women's stories. Truly, I am here for that. However, this may have been too unhinged and too wild for me. I was waiting. I had high hopes for this. I was like, you know what? It's fine. It's a weird book. Weird books are okay. We are gonna get through it and enjoy it. And then the more I read, the more I had questions. Like, this is colonial America, and there is nary a thought or nary a mention of the Native Americans who clearly would have settled there, who clearly had lived in Roanoke before the settlers. And here we are, nary a thought for them there. And then I decided to go on and read reviews, and people were talking about how the author had mentioned in the acknowledgments that she didn't feel comfortable writing about Native Americans, which is fine, I get it. However, couple things. You are writing in colonial America, where the relationships between the white people and the Native Americans are kind of important too. She wrote it with the idea of there being good settlers in mind, and that her settlers were the good ones. So I was just immediately turned off. And it's just a lot of like, what is going to happen? And will she get found out, and will she not? And it was just the point where I just kind of got bored with the book. I was expecting a little more, like, not action or suspense, but just more from a book that seems to be so wildly so wild. Like, to go from ancient Greece to American colonialism or British colonialism of the Americas, what is just a wild jump to me and a wild way to connect the stories. And yet, there was no wilderness in the book. So it was just a very disappointing read all around, truly. Moving on to number 7, which is Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez. This is a YA historical fantasy following Inez as she goes to Egypt to figure out what happened to her now deceased parents. Here, magic kind of runs rampant. It's a little bit more well-known. I just like playing beside its little 3 hairs. It's a little more well-known, and there are magical objects that kind of come around and are from the ancient Egyptian times, and you can like, it's like almost innocuous magical items, like you can shrink things, you can do X, Y, and Z. In this case, they're looking for, I think, a scroll from Cleopatra, and that's what caused her parents to go missing. So it is now up to her to do that. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. The writing is amazing. It's lush. It's beautiful. This is the sequel to What the River Knows. It's the end to the end to the duology. I just felt like, well, for one, the romance got way butchered. Like way butchered. The romance got butchered. I'm gonna keep saying that. And by the time that it fixed it, I just couldn't tell there was a point, I just couldn't see that there was a point of return after what had happened. And that really ruined the dynamic of the book for me, because the one of the main points is the romance. And I feel like it had ruined the dynamic of the book, ruined the dynamic of the characters, and it just kind of messed up the chemistry between them. So when things started picking back up again, it was lacking and just not what I wanted out of the book anymore. And I was really disappointed because I love the first book. The first book was something I recommended to my sister because it was like right up her alley. It's ancient Egypt, which she loves books set in ancient Egypt. And it's just like, it was like archaeology and magic. And it gave like almost Studio Ghibli vibes with the subtlety of the magic and the world in it. But this one just kind of ruined it for me. So hoping that other Isabel Ibanez's next work won't do the same thing. Number 6 on this list is Starling House by Beneath the Starling House? Did I change the name? Starling House by Alex E. Harlow. This is an adult gothic novel. I will just read the description for you because I still don't really fully understand the book. And I listen to an audiobook, which is wild because typically audiobook is where I thrive and I listen to the most and like understand the most when I read audiobooks. But here we are. Eden, Kentucky is just another dying bad luck town known for the only legend of E. Starling, the reclusive 19th century author and illustrator who wrote The Underland and disappeared. Before she vanished, Starling House appeared. But everyone agrees that it's best to let this uncanny house and its last soul in the air, Arthur Starling, go to rot. Opal knows better than to mess with haunted houses or brooding men, but an unexpected job offer might be the chance to get her brother out of Eden. Too quickly, though, Starling House starts to feel dangerously like something she's never had, a home. As the sinister forces converge on Starling House, Opal and Arthur are going to have to make a dire to dig up the bare secrets of the past and confront their own fears, or let Eden be taken over by literal nightmares. If Opal wants a home, she'll have to fight for it. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Note how most of my disappointing reads at this rate are 3 out of 5 stars, because it'll get lower from here. I was expecting a lot more creepiness from this book, a lot more eeriness, and it just was not giving that much. It was I wouldn't even say confusing, because confusing implies I felt something while reading the book, and I felt absolutely nothing while reading this novel. I was like, oh yeah, I really like the relationship between Opal and her brother. Opal and Arthur have an interesting dynamic, but then the things happening to them were just confusing. Not even confusing, I just felt like they didn't make any sense, and it just lacked what I was expecting out of a gothic novel, which is the eeriness, the creepiness, the vibes, and it had no vibe whatsoever. However, I will be giving Alex E. Harlow another chance. I've heard great things about her other works, and my friends have recommended me to her multiple times over, so hopefully, I will get the chance to go ahead and read more of her work. The next one is A Treachery of Swans by A.B. Poranek. This is a YA retelling of the Swan Lake, but following Odile, who is a magician who has had magic taken away from her. So she and her father have come up with an idea, and that is for Odile to pose as Odette to be able to infiltrate the house, get the magic back, etc., etc. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I have a full-length review of this book, so I will leave that link down below for you guys to peruse and see all my thoughts on it. I just felt like the pacing here was the most disappointing of all. It really just affected the entire book for me and really affected the romance, the characterization of the characters, the characterization of each character. It also just felt like that the most interesting portion of the book happened at the very end of the book, and then it just jumped over everything that I found was the most interesting part of the novel. So disappointing all around, but it's fine. I've heard other good things about Amy Poehler's other works, so I might go ahead and read that and see how it goes, but so far, not very, not super impressed by the writing, because this was kind of disappointing. The next one's a Christmas novel, and that is Same Time Next Year by Tessa Bailey. This is a hockey romance following Britta, like The Filter, but with 2 T's, who is a waitress and wants to pop by this bar, and this hockey boy who is Sumner. Sumner is a Canadian, I think he needs a visa, and she wants to have money to buy the bar, so they come up with an idea to get married, and he gets his citizenship, and she gets money to buy the bar because, you know, he is going to pay for it. And then they fall in love. It's a novella, it's okay. There was no chemistry between the characters at all. If you're going to read any hockey book, do not read this one. It was not that great. I've read quite a few of hockey novels throughout this year, and this was not it for me. There was a point where he was describing her orgasm and likening it to the shaking of a washing machine. I don't know about you guys, but there are just some things who do not describe an orgasm, and a washing machine, I think it was like a washing machine on the spin cycle, that is one of those descriptors you do not use, and it turned me off from the entire book very, very quickly, and probably Tessa Bailey as a writer very, very quickly. So putting that out there for y'all. Do not read this book. The next one's a 2-star, and that is Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane. This follows Ellie Oliver, who lost her job but met her dream woman the same kind of time that she loses her job, or before. She loses her job, and she still hung over this dream woman that she met, whose name she didn't get, but she spent a magical night with her one day. On the verge of, since she lost her job and can't find a place to stay, her landlord or a customer at a coffee shop she goes to offers to fake date her and marry her, you know, and he will pay for her to live and all that stuff so she can get a book or an animation thing published. And all she has to do is help him get his inheritance. That's it. However, she finds out that her fake fiance's sister was the mysterious woman she spent the night with and like fell head over heels in love with. I don't like pseudo cheating. I don't like cheating in general, but I especially do not like pseudo cheating. I feel like it was just like weird to have them be like, oh my god, I am so deeply in love with you, and I just want to kiss you in front of everyone in here, but you're marrying my brother. And instead of telling her the truth and explaining everything that happened, she goes, yeah, I love you too, and I am marrying your brother. It was just a weird dynamic, and I could not see myself really believing in the romance. I found myself being like, well, if you're okay with her cheating on your brother, does that mean you'll be okay if she cheats on you in this metaphorical position? Oh, and another thing. If I had my love interest tell me that my proclamation of love was embarrassing, I am throwing myself off the bridge that we met on. It was just disappointing all around. Just disappointing all around. Do not recommend. Do not, continue on. Do not pass go. Do not collect $300. Just don't do it. Moving on to number 2, and that is Consider Me by Becca Mack. This follows Carter Beckett, who is the NHL's bad boy, and he starts to fall in love with Olivia, her name is. I think her name's Olivia. And they fall in love and things ensue because he's a bad boy and she's not, and she just wants normal life and she's blah, 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 blah. I had high hopes for this one just because I like a good hockey romance, but this book and the subsequent books after it with all the other characters can be described only in one way for me. And that is, it's like when you read a fan fiction, and it's a One Direction fan fiction, and all the boys have their stereotypes. Zayn's the bad boy, Harry's the player, Liam is alive, Niall is the precious little boy, Louis is like this little like emo boy in the corner, all that stuff, right? Have their own archetypes. And then like about halfway through the fan fiction, the author forgets these archetypes and they're left with silly goofy boys who make no sense to what we were just reading prior. It's like that It was not good. I kept having high hopes and I kept reading the series thinking that it would get better, and it did not get better. So instead, it was just bad. Truly, it was just bad. Do not recommend it. It put me in a slump for hockey romances for a bit, which sucked. I had a video idea for hockey romances. So, thank you so much, Becca Mac, for messing up my idea. We'll come back to it. We'll revisit it. Don't worry, but not right now. Okay, moving on to the honorable mentions before I hit the first one. The first honorable mention is An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. This is a Carmilla retelling. I just had issues with the book in general. I felt like there was not a lot of eeriness to it. We kind of lost the plot of Carmilla per se, and there's just a weird power dynamic between the teacher and the student that never really got addressed. And I wish it had gotten addressed because it would have made the book 10 times better, but it never did. So, kind of sad about that. Then there's Lucy Undying by Kiersten White. This is a Dracula retelling following one of the brides of Dracula. It's queer. It was supposed to be good, but just nothing really happened. Yeah, nothing really happened. I felt that there was some chemistry with the main character and the love interest, and it was good. And I was intrigued enough to read the entire book to its finish, like to finish the book. But when I finished the book, I was just like, okay, well, but what happened? What did I just read? You know, like I felt like nothing. I felt like mild relief that it was done, but I didn't feel particularly like shocked or attached to the characters by the time it was over. And the last honorable mention is There's No Way I Die First by Lisa Springer. This is a YA horror night that happens in one night, following a young girl who wants to be like a well-known horror influencer, and she throws a bash hoping to get all of her influencer friends to help out, but now someone's killing all of her influencer friends. It's a little a la Scream in that one party scene where everyone just starts dying off one by one. It was wild in a way that I did not enjoy. I'll leave it there. It was wild in a way that I did not enjoy, down to the bad guy pooping in a Birkin bag. Down to the bad guy pooping in a Birkin bag. And the last and saddest and most disappointing read is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. I gave this a 1 star, singular star. This is a retelling of Lady Macbeth through the eyes of this is a retelling of Macbeth through the eyes of Lady Macbeth. And this was the worst form of character assassination I have ever read in my entire life. Like, it upsets me so badly. I wish I could be a Psyduck just to be able to explode the world. That's how bad it upset me. Like, I need a foot massage after that. It was so bad. We went from seeing Lady Macbeth from this powerful, manipulative woman in Shakespeare's canon to this meek and mild woman who has literally everything happen to her instead of her being an active participant in what was going on. There was a point in the book where she gets whipped, and I genuinely thought she was going to get sexually assaulted. And I felt like the book was, it was unnecessary to add that into the book. There's also massive amounts of xenophobia. There was just so much that happened, and there was even a point where it was like, Macbeth was like, I cannot die by a man. And she goes, but I am no man. And I'm sitting here like, you have let everything happen to you this entire time. This is the one time where you stand up because there is nothing left else for you to do. You have sat there and let everything happen to you this entire freaking book. And now you are here to say, I am no man and here to kill you. Okay, Éowyn. Okay, Daenerys Targaryen. Like, it was just like it was such an unnecessary line and an unnecessary bit of the story that had no build up to it whatsoever. Like, you had no idea that she was going to kill Macbeth. I want to keep saying Hamlet, but that's not right. You had no idea she was going to lead up and kill Macbeth. She was just there for it to happen. I had thought this entire time it was going to be Lysander who would kill him, like true to the story, because he's not a man. He's like a weird cursed dragon thing in this book. And there's just like a lot of things that happened in this book that just felt like a really, really bad fan fiction where things were just kind of all over the place and just not great. So yeah, most disappointing read of 2025, and I think about it and I get so angry. So angry. But that's neither here nor there. But that is it for all of my thoughts on the top 10 most disappointing books of this year. If you agree with me in any of these, let me in the comments down below. If you want to go ahead and share your top 10 disappointing reads of 2025 in the comments, do that and we can all kind of commiserate together. But until next time, stay safe and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.